Hello, everybody. Tonight is August 2nd, and man, I have worked like crazy. But with that being said, I was pretty fond of Andrew Yang when he was running for presidency, and there's a lot of things that appealed to me. I can see the benefits of having a UBI, not because of how things currently are, but because of how things are going to be. And with that being said, with this whole C virus and the whole with how the government's been handling how they allocate resources, you know, I could see why both the left and the right were pretty fond of Andrew Yang and why someone like him, who came out of nowhere, was very popular amongst voters. But with that being said, I have a few things I'd like to talk about with Andrew Yang. And one thing I'd like to talk about is his UBI, which is $1,000 a month. I can see currently at this moment, if not his proposal of the UBI, but something, if we had in a time like this where we have many people on unemployment making more than ever, and then we have essential employees who are making less than those who are working, I can see that right now that a UBI with the help of Andrew Yang tailoring this UBI could have been very effective from the beginning, rather than this big mess that the government has created. This has only led to the bailout of failing companies, people on unemployment making way more, the abuse of PPP loans, a lot of money being directed at places that we don't even know and that we don't even particularly care about. That's not really benefiting the people. And then we have essential employees finally maybe receiving hazard pay, but we don't know for sure. So with that being said, I think that yes, if we had a universal basic income, the money would have gone to where, would have gone to the people's hands, and then they could have allocated the money to places that would have been, used effectively. Like it could have been used towards businesses that maybe should be existing, and then maybe businesses that weren't doing so well to begin with weak balance sheets, riding on debt, that couldn't wither out a storm. Maybe they should have failed anyway. Because let's be honest, at least with the UBI, a lot of the problems that we are facing and are going to face would have been like ripping off a band-aid, and we would have faced them today rather than slowly let it happen. And when we let these kind of problems prolong, they just end up being worse. So I guess the best metaphor that I can think of on the top of my head would be like, um, we could have just bought a new boat, but instead we have this corroding boat, and we just put duct tape on the boat, and now it's just going to keep corroding, and the initial hole that was letting water in, it's just going to become worse, and all the corrosions on the boat's just going to make more holes. So um, yeah, I could see why the UBI would have been more effective. Maybe not his exact one, but definitely if he could have had a say in a UBI and then helped tailor it, he definitely could have figured something out. I do believe in this person. I don't know if I'm going to vote for him anymore, but I do believe that he's a very intelligent person who could have found a better he could have proposed a better idea than what we currently have going on. And then my second question that I have is that um, Andrew Yang, why aren't you calling out the very blatantly obvious problem with the current unemployment and then the proposed hazard pay? Okay, because you out of all people who does the math, you out of all people who knows what free time can do for a person, you out of all people who understand the America and this world very well economically and on a very on a social level as well, and a very political level, you of all people know what I'm going to be talking about right now. And that is that, and I'm sorry this is all on top of my head, but let's just get with let's talk about the finances. Okay, there's a lot of monetary gains being made for a majority of Americans who are on unemployment at the moment, collecting $600 from the CARES Act. As you and me probably have already known from the very beginning, that once these kind of programs happen, that they're just going to keep extending themselves because there's just they can't let millions of people starve. They've already dug this hole this deep, so they're just going to keep extending the CARES Act. And that's fine because at this point they're going to have to keep extending the CARES Act, or else millions of people will starve. So also, well, I mean, people could cut down their living as well, and we could change things. But this is the easiest way to do it, right? This is the most straightforward, easiest way to do it, rather than relying on a bunch of different variables to work. So, COVID. So with that being said, yeah, this is leading to a bunch of people making more money on unemployment than ever. And while some of these people are using the time and money effectively, as you and I both know, time is money, right? So if time is money, why are people on unemployment given more money and more time and not risking their health than those who are working? Why are essential employees making less? Why are essential employees working harder than ever? Because, as you know, people on UB, as you propose, right? One of the pros to having a UBI would be that, a lot of college students could open up and a lot of young people, or a lot of people who have like a safety net of the UBI could start things like businesses, go back to school, focus on their education, work on skills that can transition into the future. You know that, Andrew Yang, and that's why you wanted to propose a UBI. So, people who initially didn't have the time to pursue their dreams and other skills and careers now have the opportunity to do so with a living wage. And that's why you propose UBI. That's one of the reasons why. So now you have this millions of Americans who have triple the income of majority of those on essential employees while also having more free time, right? And that's good. More power to these people. Everyone deserves a vacation, right? A lot of these people are either doing one of the following. They're making more money than ever. They're on vacation. They're traveling when they're not following the quarantine rules, but you know that. There's not enough people to govern them. Okay, so also you know that these people are either focusing on skills, uh, gambling in the stock markets, investing in stocks, investing in commodities, focusing on skills, bettering themselves, focus on their mental health, focus on their education skills, blah blah blah. All these good things, right? They're doing all these things with this free time, which is great. Good for them. More power to them. But what about the essential employees? What are you gonna do for them? Andrew Yang, you have a voice, so why aren't you speaking up for the essential employees? So you know that they're being screwed financially, right? On average, they're being screwed financially. You know that they have no free time, and you know statistically that people on unemployment, I mean people, the essential employees are spending more, right? Because they expend more, because they expend more energy, right? It's common sense that if you're an essential employee, if you're a worker, you're going to be expending more. You're going to be buying gas, utilities, food, and whatnot, right? Because you're just expending more energy, therefore you need to consume more. You know that, Andrew Yang. So also there's that. So essential employees are being screwed over through financial gains, through their time, and through their safety. So not you, but you should be speaking up more about this. Hazard pay. So currently at the moment, I've seen a lot of news going around that we might receive a hazard pay of 10,000. The problem with this is that it retroactively starts from January 27th, which is great, but it's only $13 an hour. You know that if you work 40 hours a week, but most of these essential employees have been working way more and harder than ever, you would know that if you are working, um, you would know that if you are an essential employee and you've been working 40 hours a week, at least 40 hours a week, by late May or early June, the $13 an hour would have already capped out. Okay, so you've already would have made 770 hours, which would have equaled the $10,000, because 770 times 13 is 10,000. So that's $10,000 right there. Well, I don't know if it's 770. I don't know. I did a video on this earlier, but it basically, I did the math earlier, and it caps out, the 10,000 caps out around late May, early June. Okay, so that means from June all the way till August and later, and moving forward, anyone still working as an essential employee isn't making the hazard pay. And not only that though, but if you compare the amount of money that you would have made on unemployment versus being employed as an essential employee from that January 27th, but let's just use February because it's just easier to work with, you would still make the same amount or slightly more or slightly less by a couple $100s as an essential employee. But then you're not considering this. Yes. So that's ridiculous though, because if you get 10,000 with the hazard pay, you're finally making the same amount as your counterpart who was on unemployment benefits, who had the same wages as you per hour. But then the problem is that you're not considering all the free time that you had on unemployment. So time is money. You know that. You're a businessman. Everybody knows time is money. It's the same, because time, it truly is money. So all these people had free time. How do you consider that? Are you gonna? How do you how do you translate the amount of free time into money? Also, money, you know that the purchasing power is going down. You know that as we keep inflating things and we keep printing more money, the purchasing power is going down. So essential employees spend more on average. They consume more. They don't consume, but they spend more on average, at least on the cost of living, because they need to buy foods and utilities. But all these people on unemployment are making more money, get to do whatever they want with that money, spending on things like Netflix, all these things on Amazon, blah blah. So you know what, Andrew Yang, I don't need to explain this to you. You already know it. If you sat, Andrew Yang, you probably already know the problem here. If you sat down for 5 minutes, you're a smart man. You'd figure it out in a heartbeat. What truly is wrong. But if you can't figure it out for some reason, even though I'm sure you figured it out firsthand before a majority of people around here. One, biggest problem: monetary gains that you make from unemployment. Two, the free time is money, and you've had more free time on unemployment. Three, you're not risking your health when you're on unemployment. So what are you going to do to compensate all three of these things? Because currently, with the proposed hazard pay of 10,000, which I don't believe is enough, you would still make more money being on unemployment. And this isn't considering the two other factors, which is your health at risk and the time that you've had for free. So Andrew Yang, what are you going to do to fix this? What are you going to do to win back my vote? Are you going to stand up for the people or not? Because if you do, you'll have my vote. Stay safe, Andrew.